Hello and welcome back to the Girl Horror Podcast. It has been a while, and by a while I mean over a year. I think it's been a year and a few months since my last episode, for reasons, not even bad reasons. I just find it hard to follow through on anything, it seems. But I'm back and I'm keen to put out, I love my big scripted episodes, and I put so much of myself into them, but they are a lot of work and I don't have as much time as I thought I would, which is okay. And I think I've sort of felt bad for not being able to follow through on it, but actually I'm happy doing what I'm doing and I'm keen to just come and chat, like let's hang out. But it does mean that these episodes are going to be much chiller, much calmer. I want it to just feel like we're chatting, it's late, we're having a cup of tea before bed. Like, yeah, I don't want it to feel like a big lecture, which I think my old episodes sometimes feel like more like that, which is fine. Like, I still love that, but it's just much less personable in a way. But yeah, I want to talk about Backrooms. I'm literally recording this the day of Backrooms, as in I'm going to see it tonight in the cinema, and I'm very excited. Sorry if you can hear background noise. I've got the window open because it's been so warm this week and it's finally cooled down today, so I'm like airing the whole house out. But yeah, it means there's like wind and birds and stuff in the background. Yeah, going to see Backrooms tonight. Haven't been to the cinema since seeing Obsession a couple of weeks ago. I'm still reeling from Obsession, honestly. It's just stayed in my mind, not in the same way as like a scary, like obviously it's scary in its own right, but not in like a like the face from Hokum, for example. The face that was only in it for like 2 seconds, but still I famously hate masks or any like uncanny faces. That face stayed in my mind because it's scary. Obsession has stayed in my mind because I just have so many thoughts about it, and I think it was like aesthetically and tonally so specific, while also like honouring so many different films that have like broached on similar topics before. But yeah, it's been like rattling around in my head for the last couple of weeks, but I'm going back tonight for Backrooms, and I honestly just want to talk about the incredible era of like YouTube creator to horror film director, because I think we're having a moment, guys. And I know everyone's already talking about this, so this is not a big brainwave, but I feel the need to stop and celebrate it. And I think it's really cool to see these people who have like put so much time and energy into being creators and kind of almost always get dismissed as like, oh, but it's just YouTube. And like, I know it is obviously very different, but it's really cool to see like that actually all these skills that they've spent their lives building are not so different to like the big screen directors, as it were. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's very interesting. I think it's almost a growth out of the like elevated horror. I know everyone hates that phrase, but like we've had, and I think we're still in elevated horror to an extent, but it's kind of morphing. That phase of horror, it has opened a door to horror creators and like projects that are like much broader in scope than I think they have been allowed to be in the past. And like, I think I do still find it frustrating when people are like, horror's finally getting recognised. And I know obviously there's like Academy recognition, there's award recognition, which is very different and like very like famously like shoehorned away from horror. But like, we have been recognizing good horror. Like, good horror has been around for, you know, since the dawn of... Sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's on the roof on the house next door, there's like a murder of crows, as they say. I don't know how many crows does it take for it to be a murder of crows? Is it just any that's plural? Anyway, they're like having a seance or something on the roof, and it's very enjoyable to watch. Anyway, so that's what I'm staring at while I'm talking at you. Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, I think that we have been recognizing, like, horror has been recognized and continues to be recognized. And like, yes, I think that we're in a moment where a more general population can love and understand horror, but I wonder if that's to do with society and where we're at in life, because famously when like stuff gets difficult, like people look to, like, whether it's horror or like any other kind of extreme media, like, I don't know, but yeah, I just think it's interesting that people are still saying that. Like, people are like, oh, the Obsession, like, obviously we've had Iron Lung and then Obsession and then now Backrooms, and people are like, oh my god, horror is finally happening. And I'm like, guys, it has been happening. It has famously been happening. But I am grateful that we are at a time where like honestly, the biggest films, I feel like the biggest films this year, apart from like Project Hail Mary maybe, which I also loved, like, have been horror. Like, the biggest films in the cinema have been horror. Obviously I'm biased, so that's where I'm looking more. So I'm getting like death stared by a crow outside. Maybe he wants to be friends, actually. I don't know why I'm assuming death stare. Maybe I should make friends with the crows outside. They're being very noisy. There's like a pigeon and a crow sat next to each other. Are you going to be friends? Is that a thing? Do pigeons and crows make friends? Who knows? Yeah. Anyway, this is not like a review or anything like that. Like, I think it's really cool that Kane Parsons is really young and has already done some really cool things. I'm frustrated that people are questioning him being the director. Like, there's rumours that he's a ghost director and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, let him be. Like, let's actually celebrate people that are doing cool stuff instead of immediately, like, questioning their integrity. I don't see the point in it, to be honest. And actually, I think in a backwards way that is a compliment, because people are saying this film is good. How could someone possibly that young like make this film? And I'm like, how about you just make the compliment and you don't have to criticize within it. But yeah, I don't know, I think we're in a moment that is like, it's sort of a contrast to the like old school Hollywood process of like writing the script and like going to your agents and like all of that kind of, which feels quite gate-kept, and it's very hard to access that process in a way. Not that I know, because I've never tried, but that's the image I have of it, I guess. And now like we're in a time where someone can build their audience like through their creation first, and also like prove the concept visually somehow. Like, Backrooms is a thing that started, you know, pre-Kane Parsons even. Like, it has such a legacy within it, which like that has come before the script ever came or anything like that, which I think is cool. And like, YouTube kind of lets creators experiment with their style and like with pacing, with setting, sound design, like all of it, without like there being a studio executive being like, no, you can't do that, that's not how we do things. And like they can prove themselves outside of those boxes and those boundaries and prove that people like that and people like appreciate that, like, in order to then get into the room where they can do a feature film. I don't know if that makes sense, but it makes sense to me. I'll probably listen back to this and be like, what are you talking about? But yeah, like it's not, I don't know, there feels like there's some lore to like these YouTube creators creating films. Like it's not just a single film and you're not like, oh wow, this person I've never heard of before. That you kind of go into it with like the lore in your head. Like even if you don't know who they, like Markiplier, like I never watched Markiplier when I was young, but like I understand the kind of concept of him, if that makes sense. And like going into it, I think that was part of my appreciation for the film, was like, I guess maybe like a relatability, because naturally I think YouTube creators are like, have not had dissimilar lives to like me, or not me necessarily, but you know, like there's this image of like the old Hollywood director, and they've like come through it, and I'm not discrediting the way that they've come through it, like obviously, but it's just interesting to see the change and like see this new avenue of access kind of come out of horror. Well, not just horror obviously, but I find it interesting that horror is a place where it is happening. Yeah, so like the Philippou brothers, I actually don't know if that's how you pronounce their name, so I'm so sorry if that is wrong. Like Talk to Me was like a huge moment for me when I watched that film. I was like, this is so good. Like this is so good. And then obviously Bring Her Back was like maybe one, it was pretty much my favourite film of last year. Was it last year? Where am I? Yeah, it was last year, yeah. Like it just felt different somehow. Like their films feel different. I can't pinpoint it, and that's like what is more unsettling and more horror adjacent than not being able to pinpoint why something feels unsettling. That's so meta, but like, yeah, I don't know. It just is creepy. It was creepy. And then obviously like Harry Barker's Obsession, as I said, it's been rattling around my head for the last 2 weeks. Again, felt different, can't quite pinpoint why. And like even Iron Lung, even though all these films are so different to each other, like I was blown away by Iron Lung. I didn't really have any expectations going in. Like I said, I didn't really know Markiplier. There's random noises happening in my house. Hello? I'm actually scared. Maybe the ceiling's going to fall in. Maybe it's the crows. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, so how do I feel about Backrooms tonight? I'm conscious not to over-egg it in my head, because I famously am then disappointed. Like the best films I've seen, like I said, Iron Lung, I went in being like, I'm hoping it's good, but I don't know. And I loved it. So I'm trying to like maintain my chill. So I'm ready to hopefully have a good time. Yeah, so the it's based on the web series that is like the same aesthetic, essentially, like the yellow wallpaper, the found footage. I'm interested to see how that like crunchy analog vibe translates to like a feature film, because it is different. Like even like Blair Witch, like obviously and like all of those like found footage, and the thing is, it's as far as I know, it's not a found footage. So it's like, how do you put out that crunchy analog feeling without it being found footage? So I'm interested to see how that works, because I also don't want it to feel too like polished and shiny, because I think that's not the right vibe. But considering the lore, I think if it was a standalone thing of its own, fine, if it's shiny and new. But it's like it feels to me like the whole point like of the creepypasta like origins is that it's meant to be like clunky and crispy. I don't know how I need to learn to use descriptive words that are like actually real rather than just crunchy. But yeah, I love A24. Obviously, I think they let directors like keep their weirdness in a way that like a lot of other places probably don't. I'm interested to see what we're gonna get. Like, is it just like liminal anxiety, or is it gonna feel more of like a bigger story? I mean, I think it does. I hope it does. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that's all I have to say basically. I need to like do my day, and then I'm counting down to go and see it, and I'm excited to let you know how do I think? I'm excited to let you know what I think or how I feel about it afterwards. Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be good. I think it's gonna creep me out because the concept of Backrooms already just naturally creeps me out. But also we're doing a renovation at home at the moment, so I feel like I'm living in a back room because everything is like out of place and not where it should be. And like, yeah, it's just it's a funny coincidence that we're here. But yeah, I'm interested to know what you think of it. I think a lot of people have seen this film like early access, or like obviously it comes out today. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what other people think about it. I really enjoyed the conversations around obsession, and I think because people know the creators behind these films, like there's a lot of new voices, especially like people who've come from like Carrie Barker came from like comedy YouTube creation, and to then do a horror film is like an interesting new audience to like bring into horror. But yeah, I think like I know there's going to be someone who's like, the internet is ruining horror, or like is making horror mainstream, make it stop. And I'm like, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Like, famously, I think horror's got a lot to give, and I think there's a lot of people who could do with like sitting down and watching some horror. Not that I would ever force someone to watch it if they didn't want to, but yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening and chiming in, and it's nice to hang out. I will leave it there. And as always, stay girly and stay horrifying. Or don't be girly or horrifying. You also don't have to. I just like the phrase as like a catchphrase. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. See you soon.